All right, so welcome everyone to the afternoon session officially. So Patricia was just asking me about something's happened in my life, so I'll just share it quickly. So another example of letting go in action. So we had this appeal hearing for my visa on Monday, and John, you'll know there were some bad storms, bad weather in the UK over the weekend. So sort of the Friday, it was like Deborah phoned me and said, I don't know, where this is going to happen. Her parents are going to come down because it's half term for Gabriel, so he's off school to help because she needed to travel to Wales, but there were all kinds of weather warnings. Don't travel to Newport. That was particularly hardly hit. So she was kind of going, it's not going to happen. And it was interesting because you notice the mind's tendency to want to attach and go, ooh, can't believe it. That's diabolical. After all this time, I mean, we've waited a year. It's been over 3 years for me, but it's waited a year for an appeal. I got a refusal letter over a year ago, almost a year ago, and then had to go through this whole process and wait a year for an appeal hearing. So then you kind of the tendency in the mind is to go, oh, that's just diabolically, that's just typical. So I watched those thoughts and I was like, no, I'm just gonna let it go. All expectation of any outcome, it's like it'll be what it'll be. C'est la vie. It will be what it'll be. I've done my best and I let it go. And it actually worked out really well because her parents did come down. Although there was some bad weather and snow, it wasn't so bad they couldn't drive down. They come from Lancashire. And so they were there. And then we weren't sure on the Monday whether it was going to happen or not. So I said, well, just phone them first thing as a number, phone them and just say, like, this is what's happening. Is this happening? It was at 2 p.m. And so she phoned them and they said, yes, it's happening. And then an hour later, they phoned back and said, no, well, the judges looked at your situation and actually you've seen that, you've got a bad back. So you can do it online, which was really good. So she didn't have to travel. It's about a hour 45-minute drive to Wales and back. So that's which wouldn't have been good. And she's not able to sit for very long because of her back. And so she didn't have to travel. She did it online. She presented it to the best of her ability. She was saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not sure I did such a good job." And I said, "Just let it go. It's fine. You did what you could do, and the judge has all the documents. So we've done our best. That's all you can do. Let it go, and we wait and see for an outcome." But it was interesting that in the letting go, because could have got much more stressed about, oh, it's not happening, and it's like, okay, well, whatever, it'll happen or it won't happen. It's like I just let go of the outcome, and then it did happen. And so I think in my experience, the more you do this, the more you actually go, yes, I'm going to apply this in this practical situation. And I'm really going to let go of my mental and emotional attachment to the outcome. The more things seem to work out. It's quite this extraordinary counterintuitive law because you're now applying the laws of God and not the laws of the ego in that situation. And things do just seem to work out much better without you trying. You just have to let it go. So it's just a more validation of this art of letting go process we're doing, because that's what it's about. You can learn to just let go and not attach. I want to share my screen. The temptation is always to attach to the timeline, isn't it? To go down here, this diagram. And so whatever the trauma is, whatever the problem is, the ego wants you to attach to it, make it real, juice it for all it's worth, get attached, think the negative thoughts, feel the negative emotions, and then these situations define you. And in each situation, you can go, well, I can just let this go, because in truth, pure formless awareness, none of this is true. So why am I getting stressed about what isn't true? That's really what you've got to keep reminding yourself. If it's just a dream, then why am I getting stressed by the dream? So you got to just keep reminding yourself. It's just a dream. None of this really matters. Nothing I see means anything. I've given it all the meaning it has for me. Just applying the first couple of lessons of the workbook in any situation will help you to change your perception of it. So that's my little check-in. Yeah.
Goes along well with the lesson of the day.
Yeah. So we can have a look at that if you like. Anyone got anything else to share? While we're doing some sharing. Sue, John?
No, I haven't got anything.
Okay. Patricia, you still there? I can see your ceiling.
Yeah.
Still there?
Yeah, because I'm actually looking at the thing on the TV.
Right. Okay. Anything to share?
Well, something did happen yesterday. I have a friend called Lee. We've been friends ever since I went to Terry.
I've met Lee.
And she's she's a good teacher and a great mentor. Last week I had a disagreement with my sister, but it had really upset me. And then she pointed out that what I was accusing my sister of is what I was doing anyway, which is a good thing. And I was grateful for her honesty and directness. And then yesterday, my mom phoned me and everything had changed because it's my sister's birthday tomorrow. And I had this little bit of an upset again. And I thought, why am I doing this? Anyway, I'm driving to go and do my job. And all of a sudden I have a thought. I go, oh my word, I'm the only one who can choose happiness. Even though I've been doing the course for all this time, it was, even though I've known that, I know that on the intellectual level, I've known that. I mean, every book you read says happiness is a choice. But to actually experience it. And in that moment, it was so clear to me. And whatever was upsetting me with my sister just went whoosh out of me. I went, oh my word, it's literally that simple. Happiness is completely and utterly my choice. And the rest of the day was amazing. It was like that, but it was an experience. And it's that experience, I think, that really cements something like that with you. And so that's just what I wanted to share.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. That's a little miracle story. So miracle is just a shift in perception, isn't it? It's a correction. And just reminding you, this is just a choice. As Abraham Lincoln so wisely said, he said, folks are just about as happy as they make their mind up to be. What could be simpler and what could be truer? Just depends. Do you want to be happy or not? In any situation, you can choose happiness if you want, or you can choose to be upset for whatever. You can always find reasons to be upset, can't you? It's the one thing. It's the one thing that's quite easy to do in this world. There's always a reason to be upset by someone or something. So in this world, happiness has to be a very conscious choice, and then a vigilant choice. So look at your feelings, as Jesus says. Look at your feelings, because those are the arbiter of whether you're in the spirit or the ego. So if you're not happy, you're honest about that, then you go, okay, well, but I can make a different choice here. I can see it differently. Which again, leads us quite nicely into the lesson. So I do not perceive my own best interests. So I don't really know what's good for me. That's what he's saying here. Let's ask Kati if she wants to share it. Kati, anything to share? How did your interview go, by the way?
I think it went well. What I saw was they were asking me questions, and I was resisting to be in the moment because I was trying to hold on to the facts I had in my mind.
Okay. So you weren't fully present.
Yeah, I didn't attend.
Yeah. Okay. So that
What? Yeah.
listening formula. Attend.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts from. That's the start. If you don't attend, then you can't do the others, can you? Properly. So there's what I shared with Kati was a 4-step formula for listening, which I came across years ago. A guy called Steve Shapiro. This was his thing, was listening. So it's attend, acknowledge, clarify, and respond. I'll put it in the chat. So if you're listening, he's giving you like a simple technique to listen. And it starts with attention. Okay, so pay attention to that person. If someone is speaking, you listen to them and you're present and you're not distracted by your own thoughts or by anything else. So you can practice that anytime. Like if you're in these sessions, there's a lot of time you're not speaking. Just attend. Go, okay, so I'm just gonna really be present. I'm not going to be thinking my own thoughts. I'm just going to listen to what's coming through moment by moment. It's good practice in listening. Because then you can acknowledge and you can say, okay, yes, thank you for the question. That's an acknowledgement. Or you just go a little or body language. You nod your head. These are signs that you're listening and you're attentive. And then did you manage to clarify? Did you say, okay, so for instance, they've asked you a question. You said, just so I make sure I understand the question. Is this what you're asking? That's a clarification step.
Yeah, I was doing that sometimes, and then there was like the unworthiness coming up with, oh, you don't need to ask that. That will look like you are stupid.
Okay, interesting. So you watch the patterns under a little bit of pressure arising, but at least you're aware of it. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to over egg it, but you can use it. You can use it appropriately. If you're genuinely not sure of something, then it's a good time to use it. Just clarify. You don't have to jump in with a response. Say, just so I make sure I understand what is the question. And also, if you're feeling like you need a bit more time,
and
clarify.
And there was also, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I was pretty much finished That's also a thing to be very aware of. Okay? So the things not to do in listening, because it's always worth looking at not to do, is don't cut someone off in mid-sentence. Never do that. Wait for them to finish. There's a natural pause, and then you can come in. And if you're not sure, you can say, are you done? Are you finished? If you're not sure. But so often, I mean, how many times have you done it? Honestly, we've all done it.
I have to feel that. Doing it every day. It's my favorite exercise.
Yeah, we cut people off because
but I have to fear that I forget something.
John says, Katie, how about coming to work in the UK?
I could.
Well, that's a thought, eh?
This is now bring up more thoughts in my mind. You are the reason, John. You did this to me. You brought the thoughts in my mind. How can you?
There's lots of vacancies for healthcare workers in the UK. There's 100,000 vacancies.
Interesting, yeah. So there's a shortage of occupational therapists.
Yeah.
I think she needs to do the training. You need to do the training first.
Yeah.
The training.
You need to do the training. So, but maybe you could train in the UK. I don't know. anyway, it's something to just consider and ask for guidance. But back to the this formula. The key thing is don't cut someone off. And we all do it. We all have made that mistake. It's just a mistake. But when you do it, just notice, because it really what it does is it says your opinion is not important. In fact, I don't regard it at all. I'm just going to cut you off and talk over you. And it's not coming from the spirit, that's for sure. It's egoic, because the ego wants to go, oh no, my opinion's more important. I want to get it out there. I want to express it, and now I can't wait for you to finish. I'm just going to express it. So one of the things, especially if there's an argument, is to say, okay, I'm just going to listen. Let me hear them out. The idea of the Indian talking stick. Okay, so if you're in a circle, someone has the talking stick, only they can talk. And then when they're done and they pass the stick, then someone else can talk. The person who's got the stick. That's the idea. So you can apply that in your conversations as well. So, okay, well, your turn. And then if you're not sure, you say, okay, so are you finished? And the person says, yes, I'm done. Okay, then you can respond. But watch the tendency of the mind to want to compose a response as the person's talking. Your mind's already racing ahead. Oh, no, but, and then we want to verbalize it straight away. So listening is about control of that urge to just project outwards. So it's actually a spiritual practice. It's another spiritual practice, listening. Because listening is what? Silence, isn't it? You have to be silent. Stop the noise, stop the speaking, stop the expressing. Just be silent and receptive. And that starts with that. Attention. Attend is to be silent and receptive, isn't it? It then allows you to acknowledge, which then allows you to clarify, then allows you to respond from a place of presence rather than from the ego. So it's a nice, on the external level, you want to look at the integral model.
I have a question.
Behavioral. It's a behavioral aspect of the intentional. So my intention is to really be present and be the presence of love in that interview. Okay, well, how do I do that? Well, in any conversation and interaction, usually it involves speech, I can listen. So this is a behavioral extension of my intention to be loving. And, then it works hand in glove. Then there's no mismatch. There's an integration between your mind, your true mind, your spirit's intention, and your behavior. And that's what we're trying to get. And it's integral because it's in integrity, it's in alignment. And there's no misalignment. And that's when you become powerful, thoughts and words and actions in alignment. Yeah. Sorry, what's your question?
My question is, I have the fear that ideas are coming up in my mind, and then when the person is finished, that most of the ideas are gone already.
So you want to get them out before you forget them?
Yes. So it's not like you're just talking stupid or I'm not interested in what you say. It's more like I want to get them out because
I might forget.
Yeah.
Well, then that's part of your practice of remembering. Just go, okay, it's fine. If I'm calm and I'm poised and the spirit's in charge, I'm not going to forget. Right? It's all in there. Just allow it to sink in and trust that, as Jesus says, when he said to his disciples on the road, he said to them, just trust the Holy Spirit. It's gonna give you the words. When you need the words, you'll be able to say the words. Don't try and do it yourself. They will come.
Oh yeah.
So that's now coming from a deeper place. And you might find if you do that some really amazing stuff you didn't think of comes out. It just spontaneously arises. So you're opening your mind to another way. There's no fear there. There's no anxiety. Just clear presence. And then when it comes time to respond, you respond, and it just happens. And you know exactly what to say because it's not coming from you. So this is part of the surrender. Instead of going, oh, I need to do it because I'm anxious, because I might forget, and then and then they might judge me as silly or incompetent or whatever. You're just in this different state of poise, presence. You're in the presence, and you allow that to dictate what you're saying. I've given this example before, but it's such a good example of this that it's worth mentioning again. So Jesus, there was that situation that he encountered in his life where he was teaching in the temple, and these scribes, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, haul in this woman, and they've caught her in the act of adultery. How they quite did that one, boggles the mind. But anyway, apparently they'd done this. So they haul her in front of him. They say, "Teacher," they're trying to trick him. They say, "What? This woman's been caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses, which is the kind of governing Jewish law, says that she should be stoned. She should be punished and stoned to death. So what do you say? Should she be or not?" So they're trying to get him to say, "No, she shouldn't be." And then they're saying, "Well, you're denying the law of Moses," and then turn the crowd against him and maybe stone him to death. So, pretty tricky situation. Could have turned violent. There's a crowd there. And in those days, they did stone people to death. It was quite acceptable to just hurl stones at someone until they died. It wasn't considered murder. So quite a difficult situation. He was under pressure. And again, what did he do? He just paused. Didn't say anything. He paused. It's recorded that he kind of knelt down and he was writing something in the sand. And he was just giving himself time probably to pause, compose himself, go within, ask the Spirit for guidance. And then he stood up and he just says one sentence. "Let he who has never sinned cast the first stone." And everyone thinks about it because he makes them think and go within. And then they realize, well, actually, I'm certainly not sinless. And even the scribes and the Pharisees dropped their stones, and they all left. And it was just him and the woman left.
John, and then, are you finished? Did I cut you again?
Yeah. No, you didn't.
Oh, did I cut you again?
No, because I paused for a second or two. So there's been wait a second or two and then come in. So just practice that, everyone. It's a good practice.
1, 2,
3.
John. 1,
2.
2,
Yeah.
3.
The sessions might go on quite long, so maybe 2 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. What was your question?
2, Jono. I am listening sometimes to the podcast of Gary United or the podcast or something on Patreon. And he was telling a joke about this story, and then there's a woman just throwing a stone at that how's that woman called who Jesus defended?
The adulteress.
An adulteress.
Yeah.
Adulteress, yes. And then there was still a woman throwing a stone, and he was coming up, taking the biggest stone and throw it at him. And Jesus was like, "Mom, can you leave me some space?"
Yeah. Gary and I's got a good sense of humor, so give me some space here.
Oh.
So listening goes along with poise and presence, because it's being attentive, it's listening, it's the space, isn't it? Think about conversation. It's a space in between words. Any good conversation needs space. So you're now allowing that space, spacious awareness, which is coming from not this dimension, from the dimension beyond time and space. You allow the spacious awareness to come into any interaction, and it changes the dynamic of the conversation completely. So it's definitely something to practice. As you practice good listening, you have to become more attentive to the presence, and you allow the presence to come in, and presence is transformative. It changes any interaction into a holy interaction, a holy encounter, as Jesus calls it. So it's one of those, yes, it's a behavioral thing, listening. It's a skill, but it's really an extension of your intention to be fully present in the moment and not let the ego mind run the show. Okay, so any questions on that? Should we go into the lesson? Let's have a look at the lesson, shall we? And the quotes, maybe. Let's just do the quote first. So, chose this from Corinthians. John, do you want to read that?
The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light.
So what is he referring to there? The God of this age?
Well, he's referring to our preoccupations in these times, our love of addiction, TV, drugs.
And this was written 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So has anything really changed? Unbelievers, so they cannot see the light.
Yeah, well, I think it just got. Yeah.
Now you could say, it's even more overt. The God of this age, the ego, has blinded people with all of the distractions of the material world. That's what it's really saying. Minds of unbelievers. So those who do not believe in the spirit, which lies within, the kingdom of heaven within, and who focus their attention externally on the world. So that's what the ego is always trying to do, get us to focus on the exterior, make these real, and at the extreme, only make these real, right? And so really in our times, the God of this age is scientific materialism. It's like, in other words, if you can't feel it, see it, touch it, taste it, and measure it, then it's not real. Ken Wilber calls it flatland, that only the exterior domains are real. And you see it showing up, yesterday with Richard, it was difficult because it's a paradigm. You say, no, but I've got delays because of COVID. And that seems to be true on the face of it, doesn't it? Yet that is really giving causative power to what's external. And Jesus is saying that way of thinking is not going to take you home. You need to turn it around. So no, actually, everything is in my mind. I am the beliefs that I have are the cause of my life. It's a complete turnaround from the ego's thought system, isn't it? We're conditioned to believe that the causes lie outside of ourselves in the external world. And that's the God of this age, telling us that this is true. And this blinds us to the light. The light is the light of our true awareness of the spirit that lies within, that is formless, pure, formless awareness. It's not of a form. It's pure. It's untainted by any things of the world. And it's just an awareness. So as I say here, it's to give ego in all of its forms in this world, tempts us to give worship. So this is where the term worship comes from. And when they say in the Bible, you're going to worship a false god, what does that mean? It's not that you're literally going to bow down and pray to it. Although they did a little bit of that because they made the golden calves and stuff. But idolatry is where really giving worship with the TH. So you're giving value to things in the world. And they now have the power to affect you mentally and emotionally. They have the power to dictate your actions. And if you don't know what is actually valuable and you're giving worship to what is false, then how can you expect to perceive your own best interests? You clearly can't. So you will think that the ego's interests, which are only designed to keep you far away from the awareness of eternal love and preoccupied with matters of time and space on this timeline, always thinking about the timeline, what's happening now, what's going to happen in future. So it's got a preoccupation with past and future because it keeps you on the timeline, keeps your mind very much attached to this and away from pure formless awareness. So that's the God of this age is about time and space, focusing on what's happening, the events of the world, making those real, and the timeline of past and future, and really not being present. And Katie, you said I wasn't really that present because you're thinking ahead in that moment to what you're going to say. And it's an addiction.
Yeah, I wanted to be fearful and feel unworthy. That I make something wrong when I don't control the situation like that.
So you notice how the ego uses situations for its own purposes. So any kind of stress or pressure, it wants you to go into fear. Once you, this, I might be threatened here. I might be attacked. Things are going to go wrong, and then we feel anxiety. So we're already going out of the present moment into the future. But if you're totally present, there's nothing to fear, because you just deal with everything as it arises. There's no anticipation. Fear is anticipatory by nature. So moment by moment, you're present, and they say something, and then in the moment you attend and you acknowledge and you clarify and you respond. There's nothing to fear. Just whatever question comes, you deal with it as it comes. So you're completely present, and that is, we can actually live our life that way. Even if you're doing things like so-called planning for the future. Richard Lester was saying, well, I've got a plan for the future. That's what entrepreneurs do. But can you do it in a very present way? Can you just be presently guided? Okay, so moment by moment, what does it feel right to do right now? And then something comes in, you go, okay, well, I'll do that. So I'll give you another example, John. You remember at the beginning of the year, you put me onto an organization called Higher Visions.
Oh, yeah.
The mail.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, by the way. I'm not sure. I think I sent you a thank you, but thank you again. And for the other one, because I did explore that as well. And so I emailed her, the lady who was in charge. And she finally came back a couple of days ago and said, well, that sounds interesting. Yes, let's have a conversation. Call me when you can. And I hadn't called her for like 2 days. And then suddenly, just like, okay, call her now. Just an idea pops in for no apparent reason. I had it kind of in my calendar as a reminder, but I hadn't done it the previous day for whatever reason. So call her now. So I did. And she said, oh, this is really good timing. I just finished a Zoom call 5 minutes ago. So, it was absolutely right timing. And so this is what the spirit can help you with. It just gets the timing right. It's like, yeah, just do it now. There's no planning. Just do it now. And then you listen and things unfold, from that one action. She then said, oh, had a nice conversation. Send me a little teaser, because I'll send it out and we'll arrange a talk in September.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, anyone you can think. I mean, this is on a practical note. This is how I'm going to get this out there. It's not through conventional advertising. It's through talking to people who are who are resonant. There's a resonant frequency. People in her community are already open. So yeah, fantastic. Letting go. I love it. This is what people need to do more of. Great. Very receptive. But I called her at exactly the right time. So that, it was a good conversation. Then you move forward without undue planning. It was just like, call her now. Okay. And this is, I think, what he was trying to say. Like in whatever, whether it's business or just do it now. If it's the spirits, if you're getting some kind of intuition to do something now, then do it, because that's going to then take you forward on the right path without any undue planning. It's just the intention comes in now and says, do that now. And then you just go with it. So it's a very present way of doing anything, including running a business, which isn't separate. There's no separate rule. I think, like we saw yesterday, Richard was almost trying to make, oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur, so it's different. But there is no, it's not different. It's all the same, right? We're dealing with awareness and the mind, and it just plays out in these different roles that we have in life. And business and entrepreneurship are no different from anything else, which is a major learning. So it'd actually be useful for him to read your book, I think, John. Maybe you can suggest that.
Yeah.
And he can get it on Amazon, can he?
Yeah, it should. Yeah, you can get it. It's in digital or real form. Yeah.
As a Kindle on Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest, because I thought it was, it was, and I think he'd respect it because it's coming from someone who's done it. You're a business owner, you've built it up, you sold your business. It's the language that he understands. So
Yeah.
just drop it in next time. Just say, mention it to him. Say,
Okay.
here's the link, and I'll send it to you, and it's up to him, whether he's going to get it or not. But I thought it was quite, it was spiritual but practical at the same time, which is kind of it was quite a nice balance. So it's all about finding what works for someone, what's their frequency. So we'll have another go with him, but there was definitely some resistance there to seeing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which and it's learning for me as well, because I think actually I mustn't do that process with someone if they haven't done the work.
No.
You got to do it. You got to actually have you done the exercise yourself and spent some time on it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, well, you haven't really done it. So you don't have the understanding yourself, and also there's commitment. Well, if you're not really committed, you can't spend half an hour doing that. How committed are you to the process as well? So
I liked his bulldozer approach, though.
His bulldozer approach.
I think he's got a certain entrepreneurial bulldozer approach that kind of doesn't listen to, oh, it won't work, or it won't do this, or it won't do that.
Yeah.
You have to have an element of that.
Yeah.
And I can see he's got that.
Yeah.
But the downside of that is you don't listen to other people.
You don't listen. Yeah. So. No, I'm right. I mean, they used to say of Richard Branson, it was the market research of one. Because he'd go, no, I've got an idea, and it's going to work. And they go, well, have you done any research? No, I don't need to do research. It's going to work. I know. And a lot of the time it did, to be fair to him. But some of the time, he had some fairly spectacular disasters as well.
Yeah, he
did.
It was
like, oh yeah, well, I just believe and it's going to work, and then actually there's nothing really backing that up except his own belief. And so, there's no like due process of saying, okay, well, let's just check this and see what the market actually thinks, and and so on. Because it's that like intense self-belief. But as you say, the downside is, well, you can just be incredibly stubborn and not listen to feedback from people, which can be helpful. Different perspectives, And so the classic sort of thing is the driven leader who's charismatic and entrepreneurial and drives the organization forward, but it's all about them and their way. And then when they go, because they haven't really empowered people, then the organization starts to go down, because it's like the charisma of that person was driving it forward, and they weren't really a servant leader. Servant leadership is a different mindset.
Yeah, I think market research is good at fine-tuning concepts and new ideas, but it's not necessarily good at coming up with entirely new concepts.
No, I think the concept's got to be like, that's creative. There's something coming from creative part of your mind, and then okay, but let's check it. Let's just do a bit of, before we go and invest a whole lot of money and time, let's just see if that could work and explore it. And listen to feedback. What is the market saying? It's your domain. I don't need to tell you. You were a market researcher, so check it. All right. So moving swiftly on. Rewards of God, learning. I just put this photo in because I thought this was very appropriate. So learning to escape from illusions. Your debt to your brother is something you must never forget. The same debt that you owe to me. We talked about this yesterday. So your brother, just like Jesus, he's reaching there. You're underwater, so you're in the illusion, and he's reaching and he's saying, "I'll pull you up to the light. And he's saying each of your brothers is the same as him. They can save you from your dream of being underwater and drowning in the illusion, to take you out of that into another reality. The air and water are different dimensions of reality they symbolize, and out of the drowning, because water symbolizes not enough air, out of the drowning into the light. And each brother can do that for you if you perceive him correctly. Okay, so let's have a look at the lesson. So, Sue, do you want to kick it off for us?
I do not perceive my own best interests. In no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. It is inevitable then that you will not serve your own best interests. Yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's very true that we think we know what's good for us, and what we, but so often we don't. Well, it's like what you were saying about your own situation.
Hmm.
I think we know what outcome we want, but actually we don't. There could be a so much better outcome waiting for us if we just let go of our own perceived wants and outcomes.
Because that takes you out of the attachment to your character in the timeline. If I don't really perceive my own best interests, and I'm looking ahead and I'm going, well, I want this and I want this and I want this to happen, but Jesus is saying you don't perceive your own best interests. These are not in your best interests. Your best interests are to let go and go back home to pure formless awareness.
1, 2, 3. This reminds me of.
No. No,
my
you got a
best-
question?
This reminds me of putting my head against the brick wall.
Do you find it difficult to wait?
Yes, and also, I mean,
Oh, sorry.
that I deserve my own best interest is like I don't want to see that I push my head against a brick wall.
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
I want to suffer. Like I don't want to feel self-pity from all the wounds I dream of.
Just to recognize that this really is not in your best interest. The whole script of the ego, which is to keep you on the timeline, to keep you as attached to the human condition, believing you're human. This is not in your best interest. That's what he's really saying. So again, it's a lesson that points you all the way home. What's in your best interest is to let go of all of this and go home. And you can do that systematically and progressively as you have these life experiences by reinterpreting them. Each major trauma becomes another opportunity to let go of the ego as it's arising and go home, take another step home out of the dream. But he's saying if you think you know your best interest, then you will continue to just run the program. Allow the program of the ego to run you, and then you won't serve your best interests. Inevitable. I'm saying very straight, your perception is wrong. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. Wow, okay. So I don't perceive anything correctly. It's inevitable then that you will not serve your own best interests. Yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are. Right? So what we do is we perceive from this very limited self, and we look on the timeline, and we can only see this flatland. We can only see the external world. We can see what we think we want in the external world. So to go back here, we think this is all true and real. Flatland and the timeline go hand in hand. Can you see that? Flatland, this exterior domain, puts you on the timeline. So then we think that that this is what we want. I'm just going to draw this over here. We think that we want outcomes on the timeline. Or if I get, we saw that yesterday. I've got business goals and objectives. I want to achieve them, and we think that's in our best interests. That to achieve those must be good, but that's not necessarily the case. Because we do if you don't really understand who you are, and you don't understand what life is really for, what the purpose of everything is, then you're going to misperceive, and you're going to misinterpret, and you're going to have all kinds of goals that have nothing to do with your best interest, which is the ego's addiction, always giving us objectives and goals and outcomes to pursue that actually really don't mean anything, that just root us onto the timeline, keep you here and very far away from who you really are: God, love, eternity, pure formless awareness. And it's very cunning at doing that, and that's why we're still here. It's created this whole illusion of a reality to root us on the timeline and keep us playing the game, not being aware of who we really are. And then we recycle. If we haven't understood it fully, then back we come, and our accumulated egoic energy from all our past lives, karma as it's called in the East, and causes us to come back and do it all over again. And what he's trying to do is free us from that. Okay, so shall we move on to number 2? Any questions on number 1? Happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, John, will you read number 2 for us, please?
If you realize that you do not perceive your own best interests, you can be taught what they are. But in the presence of your conviction that you do know what they are, you cannot learn. The idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. So what he's saying here is that when we have closed minds to what our real best interests are, there's no space for the awareness or the opening up to our own best interests can be.
Yeah, the presence of your conviction that you do know what they are. So if you think, well, I know, I've got this sorted, I know what it is. We saw that a bit yesterday with Richard. So it was a useful lesson for everyone. I think it's like if you think you know you've got it handled, and there's no openness to a change of mind, then you cannot learn. There's no openness because you think that what you believe is correct. So the idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. So this is the undoing, saying, well, maybe I don't know. Like the question you got to start asking is, maybe, just maybe, can I absolutely know that this is true? That I have this idea, this belief. Can I know that this is in my best interest? Do I really know that's true? And if you're honest, you have to question, saying, well, maybe I don't know if it's true. How would I know if this is really in my best interest? I'm only judging it based on some very limited ideas and beliefs about myself and about what I think I want and what I need. So maybe I don't know in any situation. So my situation, going back to the UK, it would seem the right thing to do is go back to the UK, but I don't know, really. Do I really know? No, I don't know. So then let go of the outcome. All right, well, I don't really know. So let the spirit decide. It will unfold. I've done what I felt was right to do, and then you let it go. I'll let go of the attachment to outcome and see what unfolds. And it's a much better way of approaching it than getting attached, and then fear and anxiety and so on are inevitable. When you have attachment, expectation of outcome leads to frustration and disappointment. As the Buddha noted, craving, as he called it, craving or desire is the source of all suffering. Because you have an expectation, the expectation is not met, and then you feel frustration. You feel less than happy because your outcome, the expectation is not met, but it's all in your own mind. It's your own expectation. That's the problem. So the idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so the learning can begin. Right? To say, I don't get it. I don't perceive my own best interests. Really accept that means that now you've opened your mind so that the true learning, guided by the Holy Spirit, can come in. Okay. Happy with number 2?
Yeah.
We move on to number 3. So Patricia, if you can read number 3 for us, please.
The exercise for today requires much more honesty than you are accustomed to using. A few subjects honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods, which should be undertaken today, will be more helpful than a more cursory elimination of a large number. 2 minutes are suggested for each of the mind-searching periods which the exercises involve.
So what stands out for you there?
It's about mostly being very honest with yourself. And I think the honesty is not just about being honest, it's about digging deep. Because he says that you're not accustomed to using.
Yeah.
So I think it's about going much deeper than you would normally consider. I think it's about really, being brutally honest with yourself. And realizing that a few subjects honestly and carefully considered is much better than trying to fix the whole world all at once.
Oh, because you're practicing here. This is mind training. You're practicing being honest in a way that we're not used to. You're saying you're not honest with yourself. You don't really want to look at the ego and its motivations. And so this is unfamiliar. Carefully considered. Really, really consider. Okay, so do I really know my best interests in this situation? If you're honest with yourself, you'll probably see that you can't. Quite a helpful tool could be Byron Katie's questions, the work. First 2 questions. Do I know this is true? That makes you question, doesn't it? Do I know it's true? So I think that I want this. Do I know this is true? I think it's true, but is it really true? Is that really what I want? Is that really in my best interest? So you start questioning. And then second question, can I absolutely know that it is true? Oh, okay. So now just question it again. So this is the honesty. That's why she puts in the second question, I think, because it's okay, go a bit deeper here. Go beyond the surface and really consider this. And then you'll see that almost anything that you're thinking, that you want, that you expect, you cannot absolutely know it's true for sure that this is in your best interests. And so then you question it and you start undoing that block of belief that stops you, blocks your mind from accepting something else. And the other questions were, Just bring them up, the work, Byron, Kati. So, is it true? So, is it true that this is in my best interests? Can I absolutely know that it's true? So these questions can really give a useful kind of technique or a way of really being honest with yourself. And then question 3, how do I react? What happens mentally, physically, emotionally when I believe that thought? Oh, that is in my best interest. What happens when I believe that? Maybe I feel a bit of anxiety, if you're honest. Okay, I can feel that creates an emotion. There's something going on mentally and emotionally, and then you observe it physically, because any emotion shows up in the physical. And then who would I be without that thought? Wow, okay. So who would I be if I didn't have that perceived interest? And then you turn it around. You say, well, I thought I wanted, and let's use my example. I thought I wanted the visa appeal to be, that we won the visa appeal. I thought I wanted that, but maybe I don't. So I perceive that's in my best interest. Turn the thought around. Well, maybe it's not in my best interest. Maybe I don't know. And that's really what these early exercises in the course are about. It's a thought turnaround, isn't it? All of these, it's a flipping of the flop. It's a turnaround of your existing thought. He's trying to do it in these little mind training exercises. Okay. Shall we move on to number 4? Kati, will you read that for us, please?
Yes, I can. The practice periods should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind with closed eyes for unresolved situations about which you are currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome you want. You will quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also these goals are on different levels and often conflict.
So I'll guide you through this practice, but it's useful just to consider what he's saying. So take your situation, because it's always useful to personalize this. So you have this occupational therapy thing, and you want to train, and you're doing these interviews, and so you have some expectations, some perceived interest there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so use that situation for this mind training exercise. And if you're honest, you'll quickly realize that you have a number of goals, part of the desired outcome, and often these goals on different levels and often conflict.
Yeah, I don't know what will be the best,
And
but I still want to be right.
Even though I don't know my best interests, I still want to be right. No, that's how the ego is, isn't it? I know what I'm doing. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. That's what he's trying to tell you, that he knows what you're doing. So these exercises are questioning this. They're undoing the roots of that fixed belief of the ego that it knows what it's doing. I mean, it can actually guide you well through your life. So use that situation in this exercise, which I'll guide you through, and be really honest and look at it. So, okay, so I'd like whatever to happen, whatever to happen, whatever to happen. And then notice that like those outcomes are often contradictory. That actually maybe there's inherent conflict in that. And in worldly goals, there almost always is. It's like, yes, I'd like to get a job to be trained as an occupational therapist, but maybe there's another part of your mind that's like, no, but I'd also like to just focus on A Course in Miracles. And
You're right.
And just practice and study and teach that and dedicate my life to that. Oh, now I have a seeming conflict of interest there. So notice that. That's all he's asking us to do.
Oh, okay.
And whatever other conflicts are there. Because these conflicts then show you that actually this thought system with all of your perceived best interests is not actually really serving you, because it's on different levels. There's not one unified goal. It brings doubt, and it brings conflict into your mind. And when you see that clearly, then you can let it go and say, okay, well, I'm open to the Holy Spirit. Just looking at the situation differently. And the Holy Spirit only has one outcome in mind for the situation, and that is your salvation. So it's going to use the situation for what it's really for. And then paradoxically, on the timeline, this is how miracles work. If you really let go and you go to God or love or pure form of awareness in your mind, and you let go of the problems, the outcome on the level of form on the timeline can often be quite miraculous. It's like things just work out. You go, oh, wow, that worked out in a way I could never have expected. And I didn't expect it. I didn't anticipate it. I just let go. And then it happens. And so this is what you're trying to train us to do. This is the miracle worker's mind training. To be able to let go and allow this, the correction in your mind then comes into the world, into the matrix, and it creates different results. So then the Holy Spirit, you could say, has created a different outcome in your life, which you may never have conceived of or thought at all. So, to reference your situation to someone who's similar, David Hoffmeister, when he was in his 20s, he'd done 10 years of studying. I think he was 28. And he'd done like 10 years, and he was in this master's program or honors. I think it was even a doctorate he was doing in urban planning. He'd gone down this whole road, and he was like in this elite program in the US, and then he starts getting into the course, and he just gets told, Spirit just says, give it up, just let it go. And he couldn't initially. He said, I really struggled for a few days. I resisted. It was like, well, I'm giving up 10 years. I mean, surely, can't do that. And then Jesus is saying to him, well, no, just give it all up. And you're not going to have a proper career as people think of careers. It's like, okay, so I'm 28. This is when I'm supposed to be starting a career. Jesus is saying, you're not going to have a career. Okay. I'm not quite sure how that's going to look, but he trusted and he listened. And he just let the guidance take him in a completely different direction. And, as a result, he's become one of the most inspiring teachers of A Course in Miracles on the planet, and has made a huge impact on many people's lives. It's because he listened to that voice saying, no, okay, you're gonna let go of your perceived best interests in the situation. That's what it was, wasn't it? Which was related to studying and so on. So I'm not saying that necessarily that's for you, Kati, but you give it all up and just dedicate your life to the course. That I don't know, but be open to the answer. That's the thing. Be open to letting your ideas go, and be open to an answer. And say, okay, well, I don't know, so show me. And this exercise can help you to clear away some of that egoic belief and the perceived best interest to allow that to happen.
Do you have a degree, Katie, or a master's or anything in occupational?
You forgot to say 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, true.
1, 2, 3.
Good.
And then
John,
speak.
I think you wanted to ask me something. Is that right?
That's right. I'm just waiting. I'm still counting.
Okay, good.
Do you have a degree or a master's or a bachelor's in occupational therapy?
3. No.
Okay.
But you have some degree, don't you? You've gone down the route of formal education.
Hey, you can understand that on 2 levels. You have some degree.
Yes. You have some degree of understanding.
Yes, I have a bachelor in journalism, And I think I think I will pass with my master thesis, so I will have a master in philosophy and intercultural arts.
So you've been down a road of formal study, and then the ego is saying, well, continue, because this is path. So I don't know. There's no one can give you the answer. It's just being open. You do the exercise and you're being open to something else coming in, maybe. So try it. Just be open, be honest, as Jesus advises, and see what comes. Okay. So any other questions on this, or should we go into some practice and a meditation? Happy to do a med?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting your feet shoulder width apart, keep your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and there's a subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching of the sphincter muscle, so you lock the energy in. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up your spine to your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, so connecting with your heart space. Draw the energy all the way up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And so just repeat today's idea to yourself. Say, I do not perceive my own best interests, quite slowly and deliberately. Now search your mind for unresolved situations about which you're currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome that you want. If you're honest, looking at the outcome or outcomes you want, you'll quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome. And also that these goals are on different levels and often conflict. So breathe in again, and the breath just creates some space, some awareness. So within this space, this empty, spacious awareness, you can do this exercise better. So name each situation that occurs to you, and then name as carefully as possible, as many goals as possible you would like to be met in this resolution. So say in the situation involving whatever it is, I would like this to happen, and I would like that to happen, and I would like that to happen. Breathe into that, again, create some space, some awareness. Just notice those expectations arising. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as may honestly occur to you. Even if some of them don't appear to be directly related to the situation or even to be inherent in it at all. And you should recognize, if you're doing this properly, that you're making a large number of demands of the situation which have nothing to do with it per se. Also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however the situation turns out. And so for this particular unresolved situation that crosses your mind, say to yourself, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation. And then exhale. So as you exhale, use the exhale as a natural release. You're just letting go of your own attachment to the situation, of your own perception of a situation. You think you know what your best interests are. You believe you know. But Jesus is asking you to question that and to let go of your fixed belief that you know what your best interests are. Saying, I do not perceive my own best interests, then opens the way for another perception to come in. Perception not guided by the ego, but coming from the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, that does perceive your best interest in the situation. So breathe in again. Let's do another one. Breathe into the lower stomach, blowing it up like a balloon, clenching the sphincter muscle, the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. You lock the energy in, draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. Draw it up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So again, scan your mind. Notice any situation with desired outcomes. Any unresolved situation in your life. You're not sure what the outcome is going to be. There's some uncertainty. Concerned about it. So again, uncover the outcome that you want. Be honest about it. So in the situation involving whatever or whoever, name it. I would like this to happen. Name the outcome. And I would like that to happen. And so on. Just come up with as many different kinds of outcomes as come to mind. Just randomly. Even if they don't appear to be directly related to the situation or even to be inherent in it at all. Now observe all of this. Breathe in again. And if you're honest, you'll see that you're making a lot of demands of the situation, which have really nothing to do with it. Also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however the situation turns out. So you can start to see that your expectations set you up for disappointment. That's what he's trying to get us to see if you look honestly enough. So after you cover the list of as many of these hoped for goals, expectations, just say to yourself, but I do not perceive my own best interest in the situation. As you exhale, blow it all out with the breeze of your breath. Imagine you just releasing these expectations like a dark cloud, blowing it away with the breeze of your breath into the nothingness that it really is. Going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest here. In the emptiness, in the peace, in the stillness, in the silence. Come when you let go. And you experience this pure formless awareness arising that has no attachment to or investment in any outcomes. It just is what it is. Just wants to arise in your mind and bring you happiness and peace. Not sometime in the past or future, but right now. It's got nothing to do with expectation, these imagined outcomes, which put you on the timeline that take you out of the present moment into the future, root you on the timeline, make time and space seemingly real. So instead, let go of all these outcomes, all these expectations, by saying, I do not perceive my own best interests in any situation. I do not perceive my own best interests, full stop. That is today's key idea. In other words, any expectations, desires, hopes, dreams are futile because you don't perceive your own best interests. It's a waste of mental and emotional energy, waste of time, waste of effort. Far better to just let go, say I do not perceive my own best interests. And then in the empty space, that provides, the spirit, which is just the awareness of pure formless awareness, the awareness of oneness, arises in your mind and reinterprets a situation. And you find a peace that passes all understanding, that takes you above the timeline, raises you up above the battleground into this domain of pure formless awareness, which in truth is your only goal and your only interest in any situation, is to take your mind above the battleground of the timeline and into the kingdom of heaven, where there's just peace. That is your best interest. This exercise is about getting you to see that your perceived best interests on the timeline are not your best interests. They are not true. And to let them go. So, one more time, say, I do not perceive my own best interests. And in the space this creates in your mind, just surrender. Surrender into an experience, transcendent experience, God or love, or eternity. Eternity is no time. You're not on the timeline. There are no events in eternity. It's just one pure formless awareness. That which you truly are. So give yourself over to that. Merge with that presence. Be still and know that you are God or love. You are the eternal presence of pure formless awareness. Right now, give yourself over to that experience fully. Surrender to it. This is what surrender to God means. If you notice any outcomes, any expectations arising, that can come in the form of desire or of fear. Fear is a form of expectation of the future. You're just going to notice those and blow them away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. And remind yourself that you do not perceive your own best interests in the situation. Blow away the cloud of the expectations to clear away the blocks to the awareness of your own pure formless awareness. The blue sky of your awareness shining, the light of the source shining through it beyond the clouds, high above. So have a sense of going there into this clear blue sky of your true awareness. Let the light of your source shine through it. And there's nothing else to do, nothing else to think about, nowhere else to go, nothing else to experience, but your own true awareness, the light of the source of your being shining through it in your mind. Just experience the states of mind, states of being that come when you take your mind into this awareness. Call them love and peace and joy. But you don't even have to label them. Just open yourself to the experience of it fully for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. And if any thoughts arise about anything, past, future, particularly any expectations of the future, because that's the focus of this lesson, just observe them casually. Apply the lesson, apply the idea. So, in the situation involving whoever, whatever, I would like something to happen and something to happen and something to happen, and just observe those outcomes flitting through your mind, desired outcomes, your perceived best interests. Remind yourself that actually you do not perceive your best interests in this situation. Say to yourself, I do not perceive my best interests in this situation. Blow them away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that they really are. It's like clouds just drifting away. They have no substance, no power to obscure your true and holy mind. And you let it all go and sink back into the clear blue sky of your true awareness. And experiencing this is in your best interests. This and only this is your best interest. So just experience what is in your true best interest for the next couple of minutes of deep, peaceful, blissful silence. And so gently coming back. This deep, blissful state into an awareness of the body and the breath, the senses, and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just the rising up of the energy from the base of your spine into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Again, scan your mind for any expectations related to any particular situation in your life. Remind yourself that in that situation, name it, involving whatever it is, whoever it is, I would like. So I want something to happen and something to happen, and there's many outcomes. Cross your mind, just come to mind, remind yourself. But actually, I don't perceive my own best interests in the situation. And then as you exhale, just let go of those outcomes, those attachments. Drop them all into the nothingness they really are. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just let them go. And you surrender into the peace and the stillness. At the bottom of the exhale, notice there's this exquisite stillness that arises in the gap between breaths. On the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling, your hands touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose as you breathe in. And noticing what you're hearing, the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things. It's very still, calm, and surrendered state. Without judgment, without interpretation of your sense perceptions. Your mind is clear, calm. You let go of interpretations, the expectations, then the spirit of pure formless awareness simply arises in your mind. So on the count of 3, you open your eyes. Just take a few moments to look around. Orient yourself back into this seeming reality of the material world. Just observe the various objects in the room around you randomly. Let your eyes rest on something. And if any thoughts arise related to it, remind yourself that I do not perceive my own best interests related to this object, this situation. Notice how you feel, just very calm and peaceful and detached. So anchor this state in for the rest of the day. Use this idea. Jesus recommends doing 5 practice periods today. So if you did one this morning, you've done one now. Do another one in the late afternoon or early evening, using the shorter breath break I sent you. It's only 5 minutes. And join us tonight. We'll practice this again in the meditation tonight, starting at 7:30 German time, 8:30 South African time. So I hope to see you then, and namaste. Thanks for joining.